Good morning and welcome to Community Roundtable, a free public service brought to you on AM 1590 KDJS. If you're a member of a nonprofit organization and would like to be featured on the program, call the KDJS Newsline at 320-235-2900. That's 320-235-2900.
Well, today on our Roundtable program, we do talk weather, and we've had some weather this past week, of course, for the past 2 months, literally, here in Minnesota, west of Minneapolis, about 95 miles. Al Sheldon on our program. Laura Adams with DriversEd.com is with us right now. And we've got a lot of things we can talk about, Laura, as we visit. You're down in Austin, Texas, where a number of us would probably enjoy being with the warmer temps that you have. Balmy compared to what we have here in Minnesota.
It's good right now, but you don't want to be here in the summer when it's over 100 degrees. So, every place has its pros and cons when it comes to weather.
As I saw on social media the other day, and it had a picture of a road that was plugged and everything, and it simply said, hey, we don't have hurricanes. Remember, we don't have hurricanes, Yeah, we've had a lot of snow and wintry weather here the past few weeks now. Temperatures as cold as 30 below at times, even 40 to 45 below in northern Minnesota. And then this past week here, we have experienced a snowfall of 9 inches, followed by another system that came in and put winds up over 50 miles an hour. And Laura, the mess it made, maybe you've seen pictures, roads, U.S. highways, freeways, Iowa, Minnesota, Dakotas, Wisconsin, shut down by the state patrol. Nobody could drive on them. It was just too impassable. It's kind of a hard thing to imagine, but it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think it's definitely for the best. I think people are, in large part, unfamiliar, with how to drive safely in these conditions. And it really is for the safety of the public. People get on the road and think that they can sort of just drive as they normally do and find out that, their car is just not going to react the same way when you're talking about that level of ice and snow. And it really is a public safety issue. So I am glad to see that some of these roads have been closed, although I know what a disruption that is to everyday life and business. So, there's definitely a trade-off there. And I think that if we do have to get out in this type of weather, we want to be thinking about what we can do to be safe and thinking about kind of a worst-case scenario. What happens if we do get out and get stuck in weather that's, below zero and it may take hours to get help? Do you have everything in your car that you need to be safe? Have you thought about all of the potential consequences before you head out in dangerous weather?
And police locally just commented on that very topic. Number one, they'd wish people had not gone out. They needed to be rescued. A lot of them did. And it's dangerous, not just for the person in the vehicle, but for the snowplow workers or the vehicle behind you where they can't see you stopped and stuck in the middle of a snowdrift in the middle of the road. It's very, very, very dangerous. So many people had to be rescued. They even filled up local National Guard armories and churches as a kind of a safe place because people could not get home. They get rescued, but then what do you do with them? It's a problem.
It really is. So it's a great point. You don't want to put yourself at risk, nor should you be so selfish to put everybody else in a bad position as well if you do get stuck. So, yeah, I think the mindset is really the first step to safety, really thinking about, do I have to get out? Can I get my work done from home? Can I wait and go to the store maybe in a day or two and not today? Trying everything that you can just not to be out when the conditions are dangerous. That's pretty much the first step to safety, I think. You've got a lot of young people, perhaps, that are driving for the first time who, just are brand new to these conditions. They simply don't have experience driving in these types of conditions. And so, they may think that, well, I've got my license, I'm fine to get out there. But the reality is, if you haven't practiced in this type of weather, you really aren't prepared for it.
Let's talk a little bit about your background. DriversEd.com, I was reading a little bit. You're an author. Gosh, you've been on every major TV show and radio and newspapers and magazines, and you cover lots of bases. DriversEd.com, online driving school. How do you do that? How's that work?
Yeah, a lot of people do say, how in the world do you learn to drive online? And it does seem a bit counterintuitive, but these days it really is one of the best ways to get prepared. DriversEd.com is the #1 online driving school. And so what we do is offer a variety of courses tailored for different needs of drivers. So we've got a practice permit test for the brand new drivers that are looking to get their license. And many people don't know that 70% of people actually fail their permit test the first time. So, and I didn't know that before I was with DriversEd.com, but a lot of people I've talked to have said, yeah, that was me. You know, I was not prepared and I failed it. But Drivers Ed offers a practice test that's affordable, so new drivers can pass the first time around. And, of course, all of the education is tailored to each state. The education is very different depending on where you live. You're going to get state-specific questions. And tests are also available in English. They're in Spanish. They're in Chinese. So, if you are a different language, have a different language as your primary language, you're going to have that opportunity. There are also courses there for older drivers. Let's say you get a ticket, you get a moving violation, a speeding ticket. If you can get those points that are associated with that ticket off of your driving record, you're going to come out ahead. You're going to be able to keep your auto insurance rates as low as possible. So we do offer online traffic school, and that's super convenient, just to be able to take that online 24/7, whenever it's convenient for you is really a great service.
Yeah.
And then we also offer in-car driving lessons that are obviously not online, but through many states and partners around the country, we do have in-car lessons. So if you want that one-on-one instruction, with a professional, and that's something I definitely recommend that all drivers get to experience at some point in their driving career. Many schools don't offer driver's ed anymore. And it used to be something that you did in high school, but many schools just don't offer it. Budget cuts, can happen, and sometimes the driver's ed courses are the first things to get pulled. So if you're a parent, I wouldn't assume that you're the best person to teach your new driver how to drive. In many cases, what they need is a professional person to really be with them in the car, and then mom and dad can back up what they say and encourage practicing. But yes, DriversEd.com has a lot there, not only the courses, but a lot of good resources and articles and information like what we're talking about today, safe driving tips. We really specialize in safety, and our mission is to empower drivers for a lifetime of safe driving habits.
Do you have any like simulated driving online, or?
Yeah, we don't have that. I think it's a great thing to do, and in many cases, I've seen where drivers can actually get into cars on driving tracks. Some of the racing tracks, and get in cars and look at what it feels like to go at high rates of speed, and what it feels like to hydroplane. And get some of these experiences in a safe environment. If you have the opportunity to do that, it really is invaluable. It'll teach you how to take control of the car if you ever get out of control.
Did you invent DriversEd.com? Or?
It's been around a long time. We have helped millions of drivers, and it's something that is, I think, just an innovative way to approach driving. So, I would encourage everybody to take a look at it and just see what's available, and especially if you're in a position where you need some help with a teen driver or, like I mentioned, with a traffic ticket. It's something that a lot of people, don't know that these resources are out there. And also, if you're a driver 50 or older, believe it or not, you are categorized as a senior or mature driver at that age.
Oh, no.
I know, and it seems awfully young to be called a senior driver at 50, but many insurance companies offer discounts for older drivers if you complete a driver education course, either online or in person. Certainly online is the easiest way to do it, but taking a little bit of time and very little money to accomplish one of these courses can qualify you for a pretty nice discount on your auto insurance. It could be as much as 10, 20, even 25%, depending on who your carrier is. So I would ask your insurance company if they offer that, And, it's a no-brainer because it's going to save you money over multiple years, typically 3 years at a time. And, the time and effort and money to get that education is, very easy. So I would encourage folks to look into that if you haven't already.
Well, we've all had some unique driving stories. I would imagine you have too. What are some of the stranger things maybe that have happened when you've been behind the wheel?
Gosh, I think one of the things that stands out for me is being in icy road conditions and being in a hurry to get to an airport one morning. And my husband and I were not that experienced on icy roads. We were driving very slowly, but we saw the car in front of us just completely go out of control. Must have done like 4 360s in the road, and the car did not go off of the highway, but it scared us so much, that we just had to pull over and kind of collect ourselves. And so I think sometimes when you see things that are really scary and dangerous, that it puts you in a different frame of mind when you're driving.
Boy, I think of icy conditions. We had one day at the end of December where people coming from one direction going to meet us, and one of them lost control on the ice, and they were tailgating, and they had to use their brakes, and they lost it. Lucky we didn't get hit. They went into the ditch in a slow-motion fashion, I might add. They weren't going very fast. But with ice, if you're going 10 miles an hour and you lose control, you lose control just as easy as if you're going 60,
Absolutely. So, yes, I think one of the tips, in addition to sort of being prepared before you head out, is leaving yourself plenty of time. You don't need to be tailgating. You don't need to be up close to the cars next to you. The more space that you can leave yourself to react to unexpected conditions, the better. So, it's going to take you longer to get to work. It's going to take you longer to get to that appointment. So you just need to plan for that.
Now, here's my idea, Laura. See what you think here, on how to train a youngster and how to refresh yourself on ice. Go to a large, empty parking lot in the winter that is iced up, and just start driving, and then hit the brakes and see what happens.
I have given people the same recommendation. I think it's great. If you can find an empty place with plenty of space to play and just, let your car do what it will do, I think a lot of people would be shocked. So yes, you're really not going to be prepared for that type of situation unless you've experienced it. So put yourself in that environment and, test it out. And it's going to be different depending on different cars that you drive, too. Mm-hmm. So you've got to know your vehicle, and you've got to know how it reacts to the environment.
Have you ever driven on a frozen lake?
I have not driven on a frozen lake.
Well,
that sounds kind of scary.
Well, the ice is very thick right now, but there are always those spots, whether there's a spring, it's a spring-fed lake, or there's an ice heave. When the ice expands to shore, it buckles up and looks like a little ridge, and sometimes those ridges are open in the middle. Some people are impatient and don't stop to look, and whoops, there goes the front end or most of your vehicle into the water. So that's never good. It's crazy. Our life here involves ice fishing, cutting a hole in the lake, dropping a line down, catching some fish for supper. That involves, for many, driving a vehicle onto a lake. It's a real different world in the wintertime here.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've got to get out there somehow, so you've got to do that as safely as possible. Very interesting. Well, it sounds fun. I've never been ice fishing, but I'd love to do it one day.
Let me tell you this. You've heard of OnStar.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I ran into some fellows probably in their 20s. They were fishing, and they decided to contact OnStar and tell them they were lost. And they're in the middle of a lake. And wherever the OnStar operator was, they look up to help them get to where they're going to be and where they're at and everything, find their location. And the lady just panics. She goes, "Oh, my gosh, you're in the middle of a lake." It was hilarious.
That's great.
Good stuff. You talk about if you must venture out in weather, or if you're on a 700-mile road trip and you run across weather. What kind of things do you want to have in your vehicle in case something happens?
Yeah, so this is a great thing to do, to take an inventory of what's in your car. Many people don't know what's in their trunk or what's in the back of the car. So you definitely want to think about having things to stay warm. If it is wintertime, maybe an extra blanket, some extra gloves, a hat. It's always good to have a flashlight and some extra batteries. Of course, this time of year, an ice scraper and a snow brush are pretty standard. But also thinking about what type of food you might want. Some extra water, maybe some granola bars. Even a shovel, 2x4 planks could be beneficial if you're doing some rural driving. Even flares if you feel like you could be out far away from civilization. Some extra windshield cleaner is also good. Extra wiper blades in the snow. You're going to be constantly using those wiper blades, and you want to make sure that you've got enough windshield cleaner to have good vision. Also, jumper cables is always wise. Maybe even an extra battery backup for your cell phone. If your car were dead and your phone couldn't get a charge, having a little extra power pack would be a good idea to make sure that you could call for help.
Well, no, I thought I was good at making a list, but you've added a couple of things there. I never thought about the extra cell phone battery. I thought of a charger, but yes, what if your car does lose total power? And a great idea. Same thing with the windshield wash. Never thought of having an extra bottle of that. Good tips. Gotta love that,
Absolutely. So if you haven't taken a look in your trunk lately, this is the time to do it, and just stock up a little bit here and there, and you'll have a nice preparation if you ever need it.
Well, you know what I've heard, according to the TV commercials, people are always happier after they eat a Snickers bar. I guess I'd put in a bunch of those.
There you go. A little sugar can't hurt.
Yeah, I was talking to police. The last few weeks have been pretty busy with the officers, and they just strongly recommend no travel, but they've got some tips for what people should be doing if they get hung up on how to be safe. Do you talk to the police off and on, get ideas, communicate to people safety from their angle?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from their angle, what I hear most is don't panic. They really see people in all types of situations, and I think your state of mind can make it worse if you really panic. So being prepared and realizing that you're going to get help. It may take a little while. So if you can just stay calm and get yourself into a safe position, I think a lot of times we tend to you break down, we get out of the road, and you're really not in a safe place. You should stay in your vehicle if you are not in a safe place. You're better off there than you are getting out of the vehicle. So being calm and just staying where you are is typically the best advice I hear from them.
Yeah, and gosh, so many officers lately within the last year here have been hit by drivers who aren't getting over and giving them room, whether they've got somebody pulled over for a ticket or whether they're helping an accident scene. It's not been good here the last few months.
Yeah, giving them plenty of room no matter the situation is certainly a courtesy. And of course, it's the law as well in most places is that you do need to move over into an adjacent lane. So, yes, keeping that in mind. They're there for safety, so we shouldn't put them at risk. And
that, again, is why they're telling most people if you're in your vehicle, you're way better than standing outside and looking at the tires going, yeah, we're stuck, Yep. Sometimes it takes one person to shovel, three people to contemplate,
Yeah, absolutely. So being aware of your surroundings and your environment, even in that panic state.
Well, that just happened locally, too, south of town, where a person luckily just got back into their vehicle when they were ran into. Mm-hmm. If they had been outside the vehicle, oh boy, who knows what could have happened? With our big storm last Sunday was such a day as far as blizzards go. We didn't have much snowfall, but the wind blowing everything sideways, and it just plugged off so many highways, and the gravel roads finally by midweek were cleared enough for school buses to get out and about. Our kids, they may be going to school all summer the way it looks here. I don't know, It's been interesting with the cancellations we've had. Laura, as mentioned at the top of our program, we're talking to Laura Adams of driversed.com. You've been on a lot of big shows, and here you are in Willmar, Minnesota. We sure appreciate that. Some of the things you've done with TV and newspaper and radio and magazines. What all have you got on the big list of stuff there?
Oh man, I've been so fortunate to be on some big shows over the years, and a lot of it is related to my work in personal finance. As you mentioned, I'm an author and a personal finance expert, and I've gotten into the world of insurance. The last 6 or 7 years, I really got into insurance analysis and auto insurance specifically, and that kind of led into my work with driversed.com and safety. Insurance and safety kind of go hand in hand, especially when we're talking about auto insurance. So it really is something that, if people can stay safe, they won't have to use their insurance. Insurance is one of those products that you buy, but you hope you're never going to have to use it. And that's really what the safety issues that driversed.com is all about, is trying to help people be safe, be better drivers. You want to have good insurance, but you hope you never have to use it.
Here's a question for you that we've talked about, and I know there's a good answer on both sides of the coin. The older your vehicle gets, the rate doesn't go down, even though it's worth less. Now, what's the correlation there?
Yes. So, you can drop certain coverages as your vehicle ages. In a lot of cases, you may want to drop comprehensive coverage or collision coverage. And these are the coverages that actually replace or repair your vehicle if you hit a deer or you hit another vehicle. But, you never want to be without liability insurance. That's the part of it that is typically required in every state. So as your vehicle ages, you do need to think about what is the cost to repair it. If it were completely totaled, what would I get back from the insurance company? And if that amount is really less than what you're paying for the coverage, there's a break-even point there that you need to consider. So yes, the make and model of vehicle plays a big part in what you pay, but you do need to think about the depreciation of the vehicle and really what it's worth and what it's going to cost you ultimately if you did need to make a repair. So yeah, that's a wise financial break-even point to think about. And you never, want to go without, as I mentioned, go without liability. But the other coverages, there's a little give and take there that you can think about as your vehicle does get older.
So basically, it's a repair cost that keeps the premium about the same. They do float a little bit, but the cost of repairs is the main issue then, right?
That's it. And one thing a lot of people don't realize is that from a lot of the newer vehicles that are electric or hybrid vehicles, they're very expensive to repair. And so while we think about them, in a lot of cases, people are buying those vehicles to save money. In some cases, they can cause your insurance rates to go up. So that's a comparison that you really want to do before you buy the vehicle. Make sure that you understand what the insurance will be. I bought an electric vehicle, and I was prepared for a higher insurance premium, but a lot of people don't know that, and so then they kind of get upset when they get that first insurance bill and see that it's significantly higher than their gas-powered vehicle was.
How do you like the electric vehicle? Is it totally electric?
It's a total electric. It's a plug-in, and I do love it. I don't do a lot of driving, so it's a terrific vehicle for short commutes, running errands. It's fantastic. And, it's just... it's so nice not to have to go to the gas station. I love that.
Are you finding where you live extra fees for owning an electric vehicle now because you're still using the road but not paying the gas tax?
Surprisingly not. Where I am in Austin, there are many buildings and many stores that have the chargers right there for you. In fact, you get premium parking spaces in a lot of cases when you use those chargers. So there really is no downside.
Yeah, our government here, I know in North Dakota they just changed it, and here in Minnesota they're thinking about it, is adding an annual fee to your electric vehicle, that just like a wheel tax or something, because it's electric. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, you're trying to save money and not use fossil fuels, but they're going to ding you anyway.
Yeah, well, you want to make sure there are plenty of chargers, around your area if you do buy an all-electric.
Yeah.
It's something that you don't think about until you're out there on the road and you are running low and you can't get back home very quickly. So it is a whole different kind of mindset when you're driving an electric vehicle.
We have a new hotel in the area here, and the first thing I noticed was they had chargers outside. And I'm like, good deal,
Yeah, that's a great accessory, a great amenity to have. And even employers, in some cases will provide those for employees to encourage them. So, yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of that in the future.
Yeah, very good deal for sure. Well, before we go, Laura, I know I'm going to have friends ask me this, and I have to ask you, okay, who's the most famous person you ever met?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Let me think. This is a hard question.
I always get asked that by people, and they want to know. And they say, be sure to ask, no matter who I'm talking to, ask them.
Gosh, I am trying hard to think I've met a lot of folks, probably actors, but I would say the most, this is interesting, the most famous person that I've ever met was, and I'm trying hard to remember her real name, but do you remember Flo from Good Times?
Yes.
I met her once on a set when I was an extra in a movie, and I was just so starstruck by her. She was so gracious. So her name will come to me later.
I know. About 2:15 this afternoon, you'll think of it, right?
Exactly. She was a really fun person to meet.
What movie were you an extra on a set at?
It was Rosewood, which was filmed in very, very backwoods Florida when I lived there. I mean, this was many, many years ago. So that was a fun experience. That was the first and only time that I've been an extra in a movie, and they had just come to town and were looking for people to participate, and I couldn't turn down the chance. It was a lot of fun.
Did you make the final cut?
For literally 3 seconds, I think. So that's my claim to fame.
I've done that once, say 20-some years ago, and it was a Reese Witherspoon and Paul Rudd movie, which never really made it. It did go to theater, but you can see it on TV, overnight delivery, and I got to meet Reese and actually chat with her during some downtime. I got cut. I didn't make it.
But gosh. she was your most famous person that you met.
Yeah. I've never washed my right hand since. We're talking with Laura Adams, driversed.com, a website for you to check out online driving, safety, and around here this winter season, nothing wrong with talking about safety. And gosh, Laura, time just flies by here. We sure appreciate you spending a few minutes with us on the air. It's just been a blast to visit. We have to do this again sometime. We'll get another topic going, okay?
It has been great. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure to be with you.
Laura Adams, driversed.com. Log on.
You've been listening to Community Roundtable, a free public service brought to you on AM 1590 KDJS. If you're a member of a nonprofit organization and would like to be featured on the program, call the KDJS Newsline at 320-235-2900. That's 320-235-2900.